Yes, after that, sit down, and the leadership for women, please, I need you in front. Leadership. The leadership. Women, Zilani, Dr. Konde, sit down now. Sit down. Are you on the partners of leadership for women? So women. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen. Na sisi tukae chini kidogo kidogo. Yes sir. Tuko tayari. Are we ready? Thank you. Who is the leader? Yeah. So before I give these powerful women, strong women, both from Africa and here, the time we say is all the women belong to the kitchen is no longer there. Women also belong to the table seat and in the sitting room. So they are here. They're gonna offer us their view about life, about future, about women. So tuwapigie makofi. And please, I give you, let me see how much I give you, because I give you up to, that is good for you. That's fine? When the deal gets complicated. Don't watch. You can start. Let's give them a chance. Let's give them audience. Let's listen to them. I just turned it off. Is that working?
No.
I may have turned it off.
I mean, can y'all hear me?
I think I turned it off.
We can't hear you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Women and Leadership panel at One Voice Consorium. My name is Attorney Zelani Wambua, and it is an honor for me today to moderate this powerful women-focused conversation today. As women leaders in the diaspora, we carry such a dual responsibility to thrive where we are planted and to sow seeds of change for the future of Kenya, Africa, and beyond. Today, you'll hear from this extraordinary panel of women who embody that vision, not only breaking barriers, but building bridges. So, we shall get started, and I'm going to introduce each lady on the panel today. With us is Lady L. Meriden Crawford. She's a powerful global branding architect, cultural strategist, and a trailblazing entrepreneur whose work stretches from the Olympics to Oprah Winfrey to Mandela and to everyday movement makers. She's advised some Fortune 100 companies, shaped legacy brands, and mentored leaders across continents, all while carrying the kind of quiet, or maybe not so quiet, strength that she that doesn't ask for attention but commands it. You might be curious for the letter L in front of her name. That's not just style, that's a story that she carries, a tribute to her mother and a symbol of legacy she wears with pride. We're honored to have her voice, her vision, and her presence with us today. Welcome. Next to her, we have Shanita Scotland. She's also a powerhouse in scratch and stilettos, as you can see. She's a founder and executive director of medical professionals at On a Mission, Inc., with over a decade of experience in critical care, pediatrics, trauma, emergency, end-of-life care, and more. I mean, in short, if you can name it, she's probably saved someone through it. Currently, she's serving as an adjunct pediatric nursing professor at Long Island University. Shanita has also led medical missions across the US, the Caribbean, and Africa, from Sierra Leone to post-disaster zones, including her work as a delegate for the Clinton Global Action Network. On to my right, I have Stella Uwimana. I'm sorry. She's a dynamic leader championing youth sports and diaspora unity with bold energy and a deep sense of cultural pride. She serves as the president of the Burundian Diaspora Youth and Sports Commission, where she's working to empower the next generation of Burundians across the borders in advocacy, athleticism, and connections. And while she left after just at 8 years old, don't get it twisted, she speaks her native language fluently, proudly, and probably better than most can say. Stella brings heart, heritage, and hustle to every space she enters. And today, we're grateful to have her voice in the room. And last but not least, we're joined by Secretary Rosalina Combe. She's a political economist and interested in governance, development, elections, climate, and participation of women and youth in political processes. One thing you'll learn about her today, and maybe probably moving forward, is that she loves causing trouble, but hopefully in a good way. So, with that being said, please help me welcome the ladies, and then we'll get started. I'd like to point out, just from looking at this group today, and especially earlier when we were here, if I take out these 5 ladies upstage, we only have 2 more ladies left. And so I will have you think, and I'll have you take home with you that there's such a racial divide when it comes to women and leadership and men in leadership. And hopefully today, this discussion starts and leads us to see where we can all be even or send an even ground. All right, so to start, I'm going to start with Ms. Stella. What is the most urgent leadership gaps you see in Kenya or in Africa, and how can women step into it?
I feel like there's a lot of gaps, but when I look at it from the perspective of the diaspora and back home developing our country, I do think there is a huge gap in terms of knowledge transfer and taking the knowledge that the diaspora has gained, the skills we have gained, and being able to take it back home and train, teach those who are back home. Because here's the thing, I don't necessarily think that we, the diaspora, even our brothers and sisters who are back home, we lack skills. I don't think so. I think that we lack, kind of what some of the other people are saying, being able to work together, as well as our leaders, right, those up top, being open to hearing from the diaspora who are experts in the fields and industries that need to be updated in order for Africa to compete with the West. Someone said AI, right? I do believe, as I work in tech, in the corporate world, and in order to compete with the Western world, we have a long way to go as a continent, and we can't rely simply on our leaders who have only lived home, who the tech we have at home is, God knows how old, right? So they need to be open, to be mentored, to be taught, to be consulted. But the diaspora who are hands-on in the Western world and who know what they're talking about, so that way we are able to compete, right? Somebody said call centers. Early on in my career, I worked in the call centers. Softwares is important. If we're trying to compete with India Europe, where all these other call centers are at, we need to be well knowledge in the up and coming softwares for that industry. So we are able to compete. We are, the companies are able to contact a company like Intel, for example. Hey, we have a workforce in Burundi that can handle your sales, right? But that means that our leaders need to be open to that. If they're not, I'm sorry to say it, but we're gonna continue to be very behind in innovation, in technology, and as well, you know, we're talking about women, right, as well. We have so many brilliant, highly educated, experienced professionals, women, who I do think another gap we have is women we tend to put our heads down and not speak up. But as Africa moves forward, I do want to see more women in the tech space, telecom, rise up and speak and take your knowledge and skills back home, especially for our leaders, and say, hey, I know this, X, Y, and Z. I want to consult. And our home country should be open to that.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for that. And so I'll ask you this, Shinda, building on that. So as women leaders, how do we keep ourselves accountable to and be true and have an impact and not just title?
Okay. To start, I was asked a question during lunchtime. When someone saw my flag on my clothes, they asked me where I was from. I said, Dominica. I did explain that it's not Dominican Republic, it's Dominica. And then another gentleman asked me, how are you connected to this? How am I connected to this? As a diaspora, an African diaspora to be exact, I remember in school, most of the dances that we learned, our dances and everything came from Africa. So, with that said, I want to formally introduce myself to that person. I am not only from the Caribbean, but I'm also from Africa. That's where we're from. In addition, as a woman in leadership, I've worked in Sierra Leone at the West Africa Fistula Foundation. That's where my career for global work started while I was a student at LIU. And while working in West Africa and educating the women on infection control, we worked with the women who suffered from vaginal rectal fistulas. And we noticed that we were using pictographs. We used pictographs to educate the women, where we had the men were able to read and write, but the women were not as educated, and that is in the city of Bo. A lot of times as women, we tend to hide behind the shadow. Well, we used to hide behind the shadows of the male leadership. Right now, if you notice, yes, we are few in numbers, but our portfolio speaks for itself. When it comes to titles, for me, I think being authentic as a leader and being held accountable for my actions, I am always transparent with what I do. As someone who is working with a nonprofit, my nonprofit was also formed by 3 dynamic women from the Caribbean, and we were called to not only work in our country of Dominica, but to extend that to the entire Caribbean because of how we work. We are respectful, we are humble. We also take advice from the community. We don't go in and just do what people expect us to do or what we think we should do. Because a lot of times in the diaspora, yes, I heard you speak on innovation and bringing jobs back to the countries. A lot of times when we go back as diaspora, we forget where we come from. And we want to impose not respect in the culture of the place. So for me, just being authentic and being respectful, removing all the titles and just being yourself and know that we are leaders in every situation. That's good. That was good. So,
Marilyn, I will ask, how can diaspora leaders bridge the gap between global privilege and local realities?
Well, that's a good question. Between local, say it again,
Between global privilege and local reality.
we can't afford the luxury privilege. We cannot. Historically, our men, our women, our kids have always faced a reality of dysfunction, a reality of people that count us out, a reality of people that don't want to allow us to shine, a reality of people that basically, when you do your accomplishments, they don't even want to give you credit. So that's a luxury we can't afford. What I would do in the diaspora is what I have been doing, and what I integrated the schools in the South during civil rights. My hair was set on fire. I was beat up. Well, I take that back. They tried to beat me up. So, they had cinder block schools back then, and we went to the hospital. But the thing about it is, I went through the fire. And then I have 4 siblings who all went to HBCUs, black institutions. I chose to go to USC for 2 of my degrees because I got full scholarships. I chose to go to Harvard because I had a full scholarship, So my mentality was different because of my experiences and my training. So, and I hear us always say, the good things, we lead with the heart, being transparent, we always say that, etc. Not so much that we need to do that anymore. Yes, be direct with business, but collect your diaspora and be stealth. You know what stealth means? STEALT. That's like the most expensive military aircraft, and they don't even see it coming. So that's the diaspora that I would like to see. And that's when you check your ego at the door. It's not about who gets the credit or who's the leader or who sits in the main seat. It's not about that. It's about together we're going home with a big paycheck. We're going to have generational wealth for our kids. We're going to have peace of mind. We're going to keep excelling. We're going to keep pulling that brother and that sister up and the whole 9 yards. And that's the way I live my life. So I am saying to the diaspora that is, a matter of fact, several people told me, but 2 people recently told me I should write a book on how I manage my businesses. I don't even think I'm CEO and president of Windsor Primetime, which is a global branding business. I'm president and CEO of Nusa Ventures, which is a gold gestalt ecosystem business. I am president of Primetime Global, which is in the UAE and hard to get certified for, which is a revenue generation business development business. So what I've done is I've done a collective of people across the diaspora that can help me and that I can help. And together we are excelling together. It's so funny, one of my partners is right here, Everett, and people always see our dynamics and people comment on it like, because we are. But literally, I could give Everett, and I told you this, Everett, I would give you $100 million, because I know if I came back the next week, it's gonna be sitting right there saying,
I'm gonna put the computer over there.
We have got to stop not trusting each other. We have got to stop mistreating each other, and we have got to stop walking through the door and then looking behind me and say, well, what's that red stuff? And it's a knife in the back. There's enough to go around. And if we unite, and I can only say this from my perspective and from the success that I've experienced, and just from the initial interaction, men, women, whatever it is, if we unite, our intellect is so exceptional. Our history comes from kings and queens. You know, we have to teach that to the little ones all the way up. If we unite as a family, you know, and everybody has family dynamics. I got crazy sisters, okay? No, literally, you don't even know, okay? But if we unite as a family, if you need scholarship money to go to school, I have no kids of my own, but I put 3 through college. Then we've got to start helping each other on every aspect that we can. But most importantly, that unity has to have a plan, and that plan has to have a strategy, and that strategy has to have an activation, and the activation has to have a timetable, and the timetable has to have a deliverable and a result. I didn't say anything that I planned to say, but my point is, I'm speaking from the heart, and I commend Dr. Cherie for this today, because it may be small in numbers, but you're so powerful, and I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you, when my time allows, because I have a limited bandwidth because I'm doing so much globally now. But there are little things we can do together, you know, and I'm just saying hypothetically, you know, I don't know your goal, but you might need a phone call placed to help you get something done. Those are the kinds of things we can do for our kids and our friends' kids. And you know, you might need a contract in the patent office. If I know someone there, I'll place the call. Takes 60 seconds of my time. So from the little part to the larger part, to the big contracts, where we can plan, coordinate, and activate huge contracts to help each other. That's what's very important. I was talking to the president of the National Bar Association, which is the black representative of all the lawyers, right? I was talking to Wiley. And I said, Wiley, I'm all in people's business, right? Because he had asked me for some other stuff that we were doing. I said, why is it that every organization has spoken out on tariffs, on what's happening to the black lawyers that from the Civil Rights Department that left in America, from what's happening with Chad and Niger and Burkina Faso, etc., in Mali, in Africa, but yours. We have got to empower each other and remind each other of what we need to do. And it was not the truth. When we leave here, oh, I'm sorry, looking all over here. When we leave here, I would like to see you release a statement. And I would like to see each of you that have any kind of social media, media relations, network, etc. I'm certainly going to use mine, and put out that statement about the accomplishments in here, and invite more people to join. I'm going to call it a war, but we won't use that in a statement. More people to join the call to action to deliver just one thing a day for each of their fellow people in the diaspora. Or maybe it's once a week. But you have to start with the basics. And I'm going to give up the mic now because someone complimented me that I didn't even say anything last time.
Well, thank you for that insight. And so I'm going to shift gears quickly and come to you, Ms. Roseland, and I will ask if you could see one leadership shift happen in Kenya or in Africa within the next 10 years, or 5, what would it be?
Thank you. You give me the floor, Zilani, to speak after such an eloquent speaker.
But let me tell you what. She walked in the room, and your husband's here, right? Was it your husband? No, someone else's. I'm getting you confused. But you walked in the room, and I said to myself, I'm in the right place. You walked in, These sisters are beautiful. So you can just give them a round of applause. They're intelligent, and I'm going to be quiet. Don't talk to me.
I think my husband is someone that puts me Good traveling, this is actually one of my most favorite lines. This is good travel. What would I change? Just the one thing that I would change that I would like to see happen in Africa. I mean, I'm sure I don't even have to say, everybody here who knows me knows what I would say. Leadership. Leadership. It's just, if we can change how I heard my brother Laban was trying to be nice and was calling it bad manners. It's not the bad manners. It's just horrible leadership, lack of vision, lack of long-term thinking, just short-term little things that, achievements of small things. When we are descendants of kings and queens, as you have said, we can achieve much more. We just need to have a mind shift, a mindset shift. That's all. My employer, if I tried right now to get the equivalent of my job in Kenya right now, I won't get it. Why? None of my Western friends wants to leave Kenya. That's the only reason I cannot transfer. They don't want to retire. When they retire, they don't leave Kenya. So it's one of the most competitive places to get hired, and the majority of those are from the West. They don't want to leave Kenya because it is so good, right? And yet, you have leaders that take our young people, put them in, I was going to say ships, and send them over, but it's equivalent, right? Shut up. Everybody is thinking about an aging population in their countries and is struggling to think about labor and what are we going to do, whether you're thinking about Japan and things like that. But we're sending our young ones to Saudi Arabia and other places as cheap labor. When we can actually think, just use our mind and think about how we can expand opportunities for them to be employed, for them to create jobs, use technology. You have it. You talked about AI. We have the advantage of those resources that are there, that we can be able to engage these young people, but we don't see it that way. We see them as drivers in Qatar. We see them as cleaning people's houses in Saudi. There's so much potential. I mean, I had my brother talk about the call centers you're creating in Kenya. I mean, this is the kind of things we should be talking about. I mean, we've seen studies that are showing us that a lot of the PhDs, dissertations and master's theses that are written by people in the West are done from Nairobi. People, graduates who are sitting there writing and drafting and doing all those things. How can we change that? How can we, anyway, just a long story short, to say, for me, if there's one thing I would do, is just have that mindset shift in our leadership, have a long-term vision in what we're seeing for the continent. Stop thinking short-term, little things, people giving you little money to take your land for 90 days under carbon trading. Are we crazy? I mean, sometimes, honestly, I just sit and I'm like, are we crazy? Do we have leaders that are just what happens? What happens to your brain that you cannot see that all these things that you're doing are short term? These people are gaining, that's why they are running to the continent. Because we have the resources, but we don't see. We just have short term. We don't think long term. We just need to have that mindset shift. That would be my answer.
I appreciate that answer. I was so afraid somebody was going to say, you need to hire more women. But nobody said that. So I would think maybe that's one of the solutions. I don't know.
Actually, can I speak about that? I think it makes a difference. I'll tell you a story this morning. I was delayed because I was at Stevens Institute very nice university across the river, Hoboken, because there were a group of middle school kids making presentations on their science projects. And my son was one of them. And it was only his team. All these teams, there were 4 groups. All the groups had some women in their team. My son's team is the only one that didn't have any girls. So each of them had girls. My son's team did not have girls. It was the only one that did not have girls. And it was the only one that was disorganized. It was the only one. I mean, they did a fantastic presentation, but you could see, what was interesting was that the speakers in all those groups, even the 3 that had the women, the young girls were the ones organizing, but the ones who were the biggest talkers were the boys. So in the end, the presentations were being made by the boys. But the ones who were actually organizing, and you could see they're the ones who were organizing, were the young girls. So yes, I would say so. That maybe not as women reps, but I think we cannot underestimate the role that women play in fixing things, sometimes behind the scenes, but they do it very well. So not the same way, but I actually think it's absolutely important to acknowledge that role. And if you look at leaders that I admire, you look at the teams that they had in their kitchen, they had brilliant women behind them.
Look at the successful men. It's us, y'all. Can I share something on our point? Okay. I just not Googled, but I brought up the 4 most important styles of women leadership and the 4 most important styles of male leadership. Not that we're versing, okay. Here's men leadership styles: assertive, competitive, directive, and transactional. Like they are in a relationship. Okay? Women leadership styles: collaborative, emotionally intelligent, with empathy and active listening and conflict resolution. Transformational: women leaders often focus on motivating and driving change and promoting growth. And participative: women tend to involve others in decision-making processes, values diverse perspectives. Just thought I'd share. Okay. Look how they looking around.
I'm sure they're looking for ways to develop already. So I'm going to shift and I'm going to come to you, Shalita, and I'm going to ask you, so then how do we move from this so-called brain drain and make it a brain trust?
Okay. I come from a population of 70,000. 70.
That's
it. What? That's it. My country, just 70 is our population, the country of Dominica. It's a very little island near St. Lucia, Barbados, those tiny islands. I migrated here over 24 years ago and came to this country. Prior to migrating, I did math and physics at college. I taught math for a year, and then I migrated here. In migrating here, we all come to the US for education and better opportunities. I went back to Dominica in 2007 was the first time I saw an area where I can help. Because I was always an educator and I had already decided to go to nursing school, I decided to choose a young lady from the community that I could pretty much assist in her development, also be a mentor. I think mentorship, which Lady L spoke on earlier, mentorship is the way I think we could work with brain drain, because we are not going to stop people from leaving. For me, our university level stops at associate degree. Did I want to stay at an associate degree? No. Not only that, there are not many opportunities for us. Similar in Africa, because I've been to Kenya, I went to Nairobi as a medical officer with a global response team. And we worked at Project Elimo, which is it's an art school that's in the slums of Nairobi. And we were speaking to some of the young ladies, and they were all excited because one of our sponsors was Rihanna. And the young ladies were excited because they hear Rihanna. We're so excited, we want to be like her. We want to go to the US, we want to be with you all. And at one moment, I took a moment to just speak to the young ladies, and I said, when you go over there, what are you going to do? One young girl told me, I just want to dance because they're doing ballet and those dances. I want to dance and I want to be like Rihanna and all the celebrities. I said, don't you think you're doing a good job here? You know what she said? Nobody sees us. And that's a project where that's a Project Elimo. They do a lot of art, dances, and they educate them. They do ballet. We saw them dancing ballet in the slums of Kenya. And this young lady did not see any future for her school. When we talk about brain drain, yes, we have to leave the area, but what about coming back? And not only, some of us may not be able to go back because of the issues that's in our country, like we have in Haiti. Some people are scared to go back because of lack of security. However, we have telephones, we have the internet. Rather than focusing on brain drain, I think we should focus more on finding ways to engage diaspora. Get us working from where we are to help exchange knowledge, skills. We could do virtual learning. You spoke about AI. Before AI, we still have WhatsApp. We could call video on WhatsApp. We could teach an entire lesson on WhatsApp. So yes, we can't stop people from migrating, because I am a clear example of someone who could not stay in my small island. I had to branch out. However, we could always think of how can we help those who are there. Encourage them to be proud of where they are. Create avenues for them. They don't have to leave the area. They may never be able to get a ticket out. But sharing our knowledge and making impacts right through the telephone, via the internet, but helping others and mentorship, I think we should focus more than, because brain drain will always happen. We can't stop people from migrating.
You know, you can have that university that has an associate degree, that's their top level. Mm-hmm. They can reach out to several other universities and do a satellite extension for the other degree. That's yes. Number one. And number two is in reference to the ballet that's mm-hmm. happening there. Yeah. Then I would, do you know how successful GoFundMes are for organizations that do ballet and arts and stuff? Mm-hmm. I would do professional video if you have a videographer there, and I would post it every single opportunity that you got to the celebrities that are in the ballet, to Missy, what's her name, Misty? Yeah, Misty and etc. Because when I did the event in Cameroon, I took the premier ballerinas from New York there to do a salute in Cameroon.
So exactly what you said, because I went with a film company from California. They made videos of the young ladies, and they have been sharing them. Because and not only in Nairobi, but also when I went over to Lamu, Kenya, the activities that the young people did there as well, we were able to share the information with groups in LA. So that's why I said a lot of times we could just work with them where they are and just use their resources to
and if you only have 70,000 and you have that kind of art there, because it sounds amazing.
No, not in my country though. That was in Lamu, that was in Nairobi, Kenya. Oh, well, but in my country it's different.
Okay, well wherever the 70,000
is, that's what
you want to do make it a site, a movie site, Cause they pay you a bunch of money for a short time, for a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, you know, to just be in that area and then give the money to the right people.
Thank you for that. So we're gonna build on to that, and I'm gonna ask you, Lady Marilyn, the next question, because we're building on that answer. And I will say, what systems, and not just moments, need to be built to support women in leadership on the continent?
What systems?
Mhm.
And you said
What
not just, I
systems?
didn't understand.
What systems need to be built to support women and leadership in the
Okay.
continent?
All right, I didn't hear you say the not just part of it.
Moments, right? Because we
Moments?
can speak from moments, right? Have a moment, be very rah-rah about it, and then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's easy. The systems that need to be built are the systems that present. Just like the most powerful social media that what was the thing that came out that everybody went on, like they were in a club, it was 1,200 people on one call, 1,500, etc. Those are the systems that need to be built. But they need to be relative to the diaspora there. So just like they have you ever heard of Female Quotient? Female Quotient is the most powerful organization for women in the world, okay? And what Female Quotient is a membership. And they get corporations to support them so they can give away some free memberships. And some are paid for. But Female Quotient is everywhere a major event is. Festival of Cannes, pre-Grammys, over in Australia somewhere, etc. But it's all financed through corporations. Not just the corporations from your area, but global corporations. So I think we need a membership opportunity that we can grow, but not for people to pay money they can't afford to join it. Have it underwritten by sponsorship and give away the memberships, and the people that can pay, that's fine. It could be $1. But the point is to grow that and then offer them actual educational activities, maybe twice a week. Basic things, protocol and etiquette. Which fork to use. How do you speak to someone? How do you do an interview? How do you approach someone that you don't know in an elevator? A 1-minute introduction, I've got millions of dollars in contracts from 1-minute introductions, because I'm not afraid. I didn't know, what's his name? Bill Gates. He was at Berkshire Hathaway sitting at the bar. I didn't know him, but I didn't care. What do I have to lose? All you can say is, I don't want to be bothered, or, but he was, I didn't see any, what do you call those, like, the security people. Yeah, so I just went up to him and started talking, like I knew him. And he was talking to me like he knew me. Buy about me. I said, you gonna buy me a drink or what? And basically, I mean, he's a nice guy, but I'm just saying, you have to do what you said, leadership, and you have to also be emboldened. You have to have courage. Leadership requires courage. And for some reason, in this day and age, in a lot of situations, women have taken the lead. And I think that's messed up. We need to support our men. As powerful as I am, I don't want a man that's weaker than me. I want to uplift and engage and make sure that he's okay. Because if he's okay, he's gonna make sure we're okay. And I know that sounds old-fashioned, but that's just the way I think. And I've had wonderful opportunities from very high net worth people, but they were too weak for me. I want to give all my power, not give away my power, but combine my power with a man who brings something to the table, so we grow together. So the thing, I forgot what the question was.
Well, I appreciate your answer so
Yeah.
far, but I was asking specifically for the women that are already in leadership, not the ones that we're building or molding
Okay.
or trying to raise up.
Then what can they do?
Yeah, us now women, we're here, we've been given this platform. What can we do with it?
We need an established communication vehicle.
Yeah.
We need to not depend on, well, maybe it'll happen, or maybe I'll run into you, or maybe I'll see you 3 months from now. We need an established vehicle, just like they have with major organizations that I'm involved in, that if you need a specific service, or you have a specific cause, or you have a specific need for money, whatever, you go on there and you put it out, and whoever can help you comes back and helps you. That's what we need.
And then-
Sorry, I forgot the question.
No, that's all right. And I'm gonna come again to you, Dr. Ari.
What does your leadership legacy look like?
Not just for now,
But
for the continent itself.
I see somebody with their hand up. Maybe can I respond?
I had a question, but I can wait. I'm just one of those noisemakers in class.
What he said?
Okay.
No, the question I had really was in reference to, I guess, part of what all of you are saying. And the question I had is it inherent, and I come from having been hurt so bad in the last general elections because I gave my all, then I fell short. But in the Kamala Harris campaign, now I bring this because looking through the numbers in terms of the voting patterns of who was voting for what, there was some areas where women fell short in voting for their own. And so is it a cultural, religious, I don't know what it is, that even the women don't believe in themselves, that they prefer a man as opposed to a fellow woman. Others would be having someone else at the White House.
I guess all of us are ready to answer this question.
I just told her, I said,
Which group of women? Be specific.
And that's how they start.
Because we supported our sister.
talk about statistics.
I was part of the campaign team, so we supported our sister.
I'm gonna say quickly, what you're saying is that women, maybe some women, but I wanna say this.
Not to the last. What I mean is this.
Kanyanga wire.
We don't want to run away from the facts, okay?
No,
We're gonna give you some facts.
We're saying, they didn't fall short. They came out and they voted according to their voting needs or whatever they wanted. Some women preferred to have a man vote. Other women preferred to have a woman in leadership. So yes, we did not fall short. We just came out and
And
voted.
there are numbers to prove it, by the way, the numbers.
You go next.
I mean, I'm not going to talk about.
Kanyanga wire.
I'm not going to
You
talk
should have
about.
stood up. We ready for you.
I'm here.
They are waiting.
I'm not hiding. I'm here.
I'm not talking
Let
about
them break a
US
session.
elections, but I just want to debunk this myth that is always sent around about women not voting for their fellow women. Because we never hear that when men lose an election. We never hear people say, but men don't like each other. Why didn't the men vote for the other men? I mean, there's always that mentality, that stereotype that is used all the time continuously. But let me just explain. I think we have to acknowledge that there are cultural stereotypes that we've had over and over, and that there's those stereotypes that we need to break. I don't want to gloss over it and say that we don't have them. We do have stereotypes about women in leadership, in which people argue that women cannot be good leaders, and because they can't be good leaders, so it's been institutionalized even among women. So let's not just pretend about it. It is there. And our role always is to be able to show, just the same way there used to be myths about, black people cannot live. I mean, those myths were there. They were broken, at least in this country. So it's our responsibility also to work towards destroying those myths that end up becoming self-fulfilling prophecies, but that are used by campaigners who then tell women that you're the only one who's voting for this. All these other women are not voting for this woman. So it continues on and on and on and on And so those are things that we really need to break, because nobody ever goes and says, you know, McCain didn't win because the men didn't vote for McCain. You know, I mean, you know, he lost. So why is it that people didn't go around and say McCain lost, and yet there are very many men around?
And I'm gonna direct it to you now, Stella, and I'm gonna make it a twofold question for you.
Oh, we're not finished with him.
As in, you wanna respond?
I want to piggyback off what has already been said, right? I do think, and not just to Camilla, right? Women in general in leadership, I do feel like we are held at a different standard. There's such strong stereotypes that we all have been guilty of. At some point, I'm just being brainwashed, because I remember even during the election, having conversations with different people, and I often heard both male and females saying, what's the point? She's gonna lose anyway. We're not ready for a female president. And I wanna stay on that. First, that's a disgusting mindset to have, both males and females, because I heard it from both. And I do agree that as a society and as a group of people, we need to change our mindset and how we view women. Because to say that as a collective, we're not ready for a woman president, what does that say about us? We have a lot of inner work to do. Because the reason you don't think a person is qualified and not ready is the gender. That's disgusting. And that raises question, for me at least, what other thoughts do you have internally about women that then affect how you move around the world and how you move in the workplace, in your own life, right? Because if you think a woman can't run a country like the US, what do you think about your sisters running their families, the households? Then let's take a step further, corporations. Because essentially you're saying, if I can't lead, do you trust me to lead my own household? Can you trust me to be in the boardrooms? Right? I think oftentimes we look at the presidential level, but if we look at it even at a simple level, because if you're saying a woman, we're not ready to have a woman president, which level are we ready to have a woman anything? To lead and follow? And I feel like from that at diaspora level, if I were to say how many women presidents have we had, most of us, including myself, I'm calling myself out, I hold myself accountable. I can't give you that number. I don't. I know Tanzania has one, right? And I know there's not many, but in order for that to shift, I think that conversation we internally also need to ask ourselves, why am I uncomfortable having a woman hold the highest position there is in the country? Why? Are they unqualified? No, she wasn't. So it's not that. Are they not adequate? No. You know what I mean? So we have to start questioning ourselves. Why are we uncomfortable having a woman be in position to lead all of us at the highest level? What prejudices do we hold? What stereotypes we've been brainwashed to say, nah, this is a man's job. We gotta question them, personally. Especially as a young woman, I'm 29, right? Watching this election, we're told, go to school, work hard, be outspoken, and you would get there. But this election for me, honestly, as a 29-year-old who's also a mother to a toddler who's a girl, really put me in a place of, is it really true? Are they just, excuse my French, are we feeding females bullshit? That when time comes, are we allowing our stereotypes and what have been programmed in the back of our mind to limit women? And then in turn, we are doing ourselves and our country a disservice. So I think that's a conversation that needs to be had of like, what limiting beliefs and stereotypes have been programmed in our mind that we push so back and not willing to admit. That's a conversation I feel as a collective we need to have openly. Because again, as a 20-year-old who's also a mother to a female, that's concerning when I look at the future of not just our people, but our country. Because if we're always gonna have males leading, what opportunities are we missing that we could gain from having a woman leader? Because we have a lot to offer, but we gotta have a lot of inner work to do and conversations to be had as a community.
Okay, I'm just gonna make this short and sweet. I think there were so many factors around the election. And it was the timing, it was the fact that we had already elected a black president, it was the fact that they were emboldened, it was the fact for the last 16 years they've been planning Project 2025, it was the fact that Kamala had 2 strikes against her, she was a female and black, and it was the fact that Trump and all the MAGA folks were determined not to have a repeat of another person of melanin in office, okay? And the Democrats didn't help. The messaging was all wrong. It was over people's head. You have to dumb down the messages. People talk about how dumb Trump is. Yeah, he was dumb, but he was talking to a dumb group. So you gotta speak to your audience. And I kept writing the DNC and writing the Democrats, and one of my clients gave him $1 million, and she said, "You write this person." I was like, "Let me help you with your messaging, because you're there talking about, and we don't want to offend society, and when you talk about listen, these people didn't have Harvard degrees, and when you look at World News Tonight, do you know World News Tonight caters to their language, like you're in preschool up to 3rd grade, so that everybody can understand. So it was there. Also, you have to realize these beautiful, strong, competent, qualified females, like our vice president, that brings a lot of confidence, which now evokes a lot of what? Insecurities, okay? So there was a combination of many things. And then when you think about the vote, just to help you out, you can relax because you did an outstanding job. But when you think about the vote, let me tell you what happened. Because I have gone deep dive into the internet. And literally, I went and looked at all the statistics. Never in the history of this country have all those states, all those blue states turned red. And never in the history of a country have they done it within 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Digital.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. You have to be prepared for that kind of action. We were not. We were too busy abiding by the law, which we still are. And Trump has thrown law and order out the window and down the street and around the corner. He's doing what he wants, when he wants, how he wants. And so I collected my nieces and nephews and I gave them a quick course in 101 law. I gave them a speed dial number to an attorney if they're ever stopped, pulled over, walking down the street while black, shopping while black, talking while black, in wherever while black, because I'm preparing them. We got so comfortable with integration that we don't understand they don't like you. They ain't like us. And turn that camera off me. But here's the thing, they are not like us. And until we stand up as a diaspora and mentally get it, you know, whenever you can have Donald Trump go on international TV, and it wasn't a bot, it wasn't AI, it was true. He said on international TV, he said in my first term, I was so sad because I was passing these things, getting ready for the Olympics to come, getting ready for, it was like 2 big things that are coming in this new presidency. And he said, and I turned to my people and I said, want to be sad? I'm creating an opportunity for the Olympics to come here. I'm signing the paper, but I won't be here. And he said, and then they rigged the election. You can go on the internet, it's there. And so I called and asked my people, well, what are you gonna do about it? They said the people that had the money said, you know, they were weary. They were fight weary. We can't afford to get fight weary, because then our kids and our kids' kids and generations of kids will not have the basic opportunities that we were afforded to have. And I'm saying this from someone who came from South Carolina, who integrated 350 white kids, and me and my cousin Jerry Witherspoon. I was spit on, I was talked about, my hair was set on fire, the whole 9 yards. But I will never give up the fight for the future of our kids. And this fight now is in this room with generational wealth. Because money speaks. I'm sorry, but everything else is just a conversation.
All right, so we're gonna begin rounding up our
Okay,
conversation.
sorry.
Thank you so much, ladies. And we're gonna give time for the audience.
We can
if there's
continue that conversation
questions,
even after.
right?
Yeah, I'll give you more 15 minutes and
Okay.
maybe end up 4. But I just wanted to say why. Sometimes when we have this stereotyping is when, you know, women are straightforward. And they don't want to bullshit around here and there, but men always like shitty things. Sorry to say so. Look at big companies.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Big companies, even if they grow up, there is a woman behind it. And men, you can see them speak, but always there's a woman behind that company or anything growing up. But also when in politics, you know, as you see, men like shitty things, and they like, even you see even into the current government, I don't want to say anything, but you see they like shitty things. But they realize that a woman will always be straightforward. Even look, charity begins at home. Even in your house, even me, I know how a woman in the house. No, I don't want this to happen, I don't want this to happen, but I want this to happen. But if you can't compromise, what happens? If you don't compromise in your house, what happens? Let me see. What happens if you can't compromise on some issues in the home? What happens? Most likely you find there is divorce. Yes. Yes or no? Because, because I can't withstand her. I can't take from her. It can't listen from her. No, I know, Opande, you want to say something, but I don't mean that's always happens, but that's the truth. There's always compromise. If you can't compromise, then there is always argument, and then say she has a big mouth. And I'm not trying to defend them, but I'm just saying this is what happens. But because they have the vision, and they have the...
Can we
but,
continue 15 minutes?
Yeah, I was just coming. Yeah, I gave you that 15 minutes, then we wind up, we end because we are supposed to end at 3:30, but because it's an interesting and this was the only panel for women, I think I'll give you that chance to continue.
I think it looks like what I'm hearing, you know, Africans shouldn't be so sad on themselves because the Americans also are being
I don't want to be on mic saying these things.
Well, they're gonna have to edit this anyway. I don't want ICE coming to pick me up.
Exactly.
But what I was saying though is what I was trying to understand is that outside of the politics and all that, are we having religion and culture influence us so much so that we don't allow the women to actually take those roles and we embrace them and we cherish and we support and so forth? Because if that were the case, I mean, there's so many opportunities that we've lost simply because of that. I don't know whether it's religion, whether it's culture, and I know some of those things are very strong.
Do you know why Women's Lib was created?
I'm sorry? Women's League? No, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, women's liberation was created as a tool to put black men down.
Yeah.
Because if they created white women's liberation and then we joined in, then where they're gonna leave y'all? And that's why I say you gotta outthink them. That's why I always say lift up our men. Because that's the strongest society in the world is a society that has strong black men and supported by strong black women.
And I'm gonna add
So
to that.
just 1 second. We're in this panel and I'm about to fiercely disagree with you
because
Okay.
from a very long time, especially as African women, we've been taught, ingrained in us, you cater to the men. Cater from the very
There's a
little
difference
age,
between
right?
cater and
Yeah.
supporting.
And that's where we
Yeah.
spoiled them, right?
That's
Because
not-
then they grow up thinking a woman is at my beck and call.
No, but she's
So
talking about
she
catering.
cannot
I'm
tell
talking
me
about
what to
support.
do.
No.
She cannot do this and this and that. She cannot be in leadership. Her place is somewhere there at the back, whatever. And I know the ladies want to answer to that question, so I won't touch it. But to answer you when it comes to religion, right? I think there's a huge disconnect when people say, oh, religion is the reason why women are doing such and so forth. No, it's your interpretation of the religion that's putting you there. Because let's look at the time that Jesus was walking around. The women were fiercely involved. Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of Jesus, they all went to the grave. They were the first people to go to the grave when Jesus had resurrected, to go see. It wasn't even the disciples. So if anybody is sitting there and saying, oh, well, the religion is undermining women, it's not true. It's not true. It shouldn't be that way. Interpret it as what it is. If you're a woman, your place, you have a place. Mary had a place at the feet of Jesus. You're not supposed to be at the back there. So no, it's not religion that's putting us down. It's maybe our interpretation of it, or the man who decided this is the law is the one who did it.
Putting you down? I don't understand.
He's saying that there's a
Oh, he's
combative
saying religion.
nature,
Oh,
that maybe because of religion or culture. That's why women vote the way they vote. No, maybe just a man said a woman should wear a headscarf, and the woman listened.
But I like what she said. Tell her what you said.
So kind of going off of what we're talking about, what you said, right? What she was saying. I feel like culturally, right? Born and raised East African, right? A lot of times the females don't be too loud, right? Let the men lead. Know your position. I know it from cultural standpoint, community standpoint, and as a woman who's married, who's a mother, I have seen it from comments of people within our own communities, right? But what I want to say is this: when you bring men in the conversation in terms of partnership, right? And kind of, we were talking about catering. I'm gonna cater to you if you also cater to me. Why? If you marry a strong alpha female, or a female who has goals and dreams and who's ready to take on the world, if you're a weak man, that household is gonna crumble. I say it because I have a strong personality. I have goals. I'm very outspoken. I'm gonna say that, right? But why, as a married young woman at that, who's married to an African man, an East African man, have I been able to be successful, still go out there, and why not? One of the things I say when my time comes, right, to leave this earth, is this. I don't want people to remember me as simply as Miss Jean Dudier's wife. If that's the end of it, then I will have failed. My husband will have failed. Because as partners, we're supposed to support each other, collaborate, uplift each other. And also as well, it's like, I am loud, I am whatever, but I also know that when it comes time to uplift my husband, just like he does for me, he knows his position and I know mine. If he comes into my world, he lets me shine. He lets me take the lead. When I go into his world, I do just the same, right? So I think when we talk about women in leadership, diaspora, and men and women, it's not a matter of versus. It's a matter of collaborating, working together, right? Especially when we talk about, everything starts at home, right? If your home is crumbling and being disrupted, I'm sorry, it's gonna reflect outwardly, right? But when you come from a home that, as a wife, right, or as a daughter, where you are uplifted by the males around you, and when time comes for you to shine, they say, go do your thing. We're gonna support you. We're gonna uplift you.
Yeah.
we as a community benefit from that. Because a woman leading does not mean the males have failed. Again, it's not a competition. We all benefit from supporting each other, catering to each other. I know sometimes that people look at that as a bad thing in marriage, or what woman is only supposed to cater to a man, but I would disagree. We cater to each other on the needs of each one of us need. The reason I'm even able to sit here today is because my husband was like, go ahead, I got our daughter, I got home taken care of, you go take care of what you need to do. But oftentimes it's like women need to, somebody was talking about, compromising. And a lot of times, even culturally, it's women who are always compromising. But to what expense? Where do we draw the line? That's just a question for all of us.
So, we don't want to seem like we're here to bash on the men. We love you, men. All of you.
Thank you.
Right?
We feel
We
love.
love you. And we're very encouraged to see you all here.
I'm the generation that caters.
Yeah, we don't want to take the discussion way from where it was.
No, we understand. I think
Okay.
it was an issue of trying to understand how to support, like, how we're doing it, but then we for me personally, I'm still trying to struggle. What went wrong? Where did we miss? You know.
Listen to the women.
And I was talking about I said about the elections, and of
Yeah.
course,
I suggest you have a breakout room. You rush that topic to the end.
Yeah, we have plenty of time. You can continue so we don't.
You know what the beauty
Yeah,
of
about
this
the
is?
topic.
This is a dialogue that can continue, and the beauty of it is, it's a dialogue that doesn't happen often enough.
Right.
You know? Matter of fact, that could have been a whole session next time, Dr. Shuri. Just talk between men and women so that we understand each other better. Because we deserve a wonderful life together with women with the men and men with the women. You know, I'm one of them old-fashioned women. I cater to my ex-husband, but he gone.
All right, so we're gonna turn it to the audience now, and it's time for your Q&A. Whoever has a question to ask, maybe hopefully not about politics, but we're ready.
He's scared.
Or should we ask y'all?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Ask
Should the women ask the men?
Yeah.
Or should the women ask the group since nobody
Yeah,
wants
ask
to
the men
answer?
some few questions there and see how they come
All
how
right.
they succeed.
So maybe let's throw this question out there to the group.
And men strictly, this is yours to answer. I want to see how you guys answer this question. And take 2 minutes, 1 minute to answer. Don't fumble, don't go to stories.
So how do you define what women leadership looks like in a continent like Africa?
Look, she levitating from the table.
1, 2, oh! There you go.
Oh, Everett, you ought to stop.
Listen, first of
All
all,
the men, please.
I grew up around very strong women. My grandmother told me always open the door for women. No matter you were happy
That's
with you,
true.
sad with, or whatever, I will still open your door. All right, so regardless, we have to do those things. When it comes to a strong woman, especially of Africa, my admirations are not just women of Africa, because I do love the fact that Tanzania, Namibia, even going into the Caribbean islands where we have me and Motley, you know, those are leaders. Those are leaders that I love to hear, because just as y'all were saying, when I have a question, I'll run it by a woman. I may call Marilyn and ask her. I may not like the answer, but I'll listen to it. All right, but I do reach out to women, even women in my life. I make sure that I find out. And listen, some things I'll get kicked out of the men's club, you know, for listening to certain things. But if I want something done, and going back to the emotional thing about how things are designed or whatever, I honestly believe that women, we all look and admire our mothers for bringing us into this world, regardless of how strong a man is, he goes home, and it's usually his wife that tells him, after he gives her, you know, the update on what happened, she's basically giving him the ammunition to go back and, you know, have those discussions. So across the board, you know, and this is not kissing up to you women because y'all have a nice toxic conversation, but the fact is, I think it's important that we listen to them and also make sure that they are elevated as much as us. I don't look at whether you're a woman, even me, when it comes to business. I don't care if you're a woman, man, or child. I'm going to incorporate the value that you're bringing to the table. I'm going to listen to what you have. And so that at least this way here, I know I'm going to extract something from you positive, extract something from you positive, and even welcome the negative things so I can know how to gauge myself and navigate through those things. So if that answers your question, I believe we still have to get away from the woman-man because that's just a device to divide. It's been happening since y'all talked about liberation. You know, that's how they got black American men out of the house. They told the women, if you want welfare, you gotta kick the man out. And it was a tool that was used to separate it. So me, I'm believing in, without question, we can't coexist unless we work together. I can't be born unless a man and a woman came together. Of course, you know, AI might do something different in the future, but literally, we can't do it without y'all.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Thank you. I think I'll give the last person, then we end because it's almost 4 something and we need to be winding up.
I couldn't miss to say something after sparking a fight, a third world war here. So I think there has been a deliberate towards the girl child. For several years in the past, there was an effort to come out of the cultural bondage of what we perceived women or the girl child to be. And so if you look at schools, colleges, I think, I don't remember which country I was reading, that there were more girls in college than there were boys at this time in life. Whereby several years ago, it was impossible for the girl child to go to school. It was never even factored as to the need to do that. So there has been that effort. And then there's also an embracing that has come because of the to appreciate our sisters, who come to appreciate our aunts, our mothers, and we're able to reason out things without dictating to them what needs to be done. Because during some years back, the woman didn't have a space to even speak. And so time has moved on, and so I want to say that now it has gotten, relatively easy and open for the woman to actually be her. But it has come through a lot of effort, deliberate effort towards the girl child. In fact, I was reading somewhere again where they were saying it has been so deliberate that they actually forgot about the boy child. Now they're going back again to go and pick up the boy child because he was intentionally left behind. So anyway, that could be another bit. But so with that, I think there has been, and of course we've gotten into national leadership from Liberia, from Ethiopia, from Tanzania, and now Namibia, and I'm not sure what else we may have had. But those are conscious effort by the community to embrace the woman and accept that not only there is a woman just simply a homemaker or a caregiver at home, but actually can lead a corporation and can lead a country and so forth. And now I think as we speak, even on the continent, there's quite a bit of the woman presence in terms of leadership. Maybe not as much in terms of presidency, but in terms of management and so forth. Other countries have actually made it constitutional, all right? Even though there's still a struggle. For example, in Kenya, I know the law provides that somebody more than this percentage of gender, of either gender. So, which was supposed to be a deliberate effort to the future looks bright. And we can't wait, for our daughters. I don't have one, I only have sons, but I can't wait for your daughter to be the one who is leading this country, and to be the one who is leading this country, and will be. I'm still heartbroken. I'm telling you, I will be. I'm still heartbroken. I'm telling you, I still cry, but I'll be all right. You know, from these last elections.
You know, when you give chance to lawyers, you get ready to listen. I think it's almost 4:07, and we need to be wrapping up. I'll give to the host to say one word or 2 words, and then we see where we're heading next. But meanwhile, the ambassador to His Excellency from Burundi, has some good information. He has some government positions to be filled in Burundi. So he's gonna say the positions that need to be filled in Burundi. So if you're looking
by
for
women, or
no, I just say the opportunities. I'm going to give to him tomorrow to say the opportunities if you wanna work into Burundi government or ministries. He's going to announce those positions. They are looking for expertise to go there. So this is an opportunity for us within it, isn't it? So let me give to the host 1 minute to say, this is an opportunity for us within it, isn't it? So let me give to the host 1 minute to say something. Or should I give you maybe 2 minutes? Are you able to finish, or are you gonna tomorrow?
Okay. This is a wonderful conversation, and I think as a lady, it wouldn't be right for me to watch and not say anything. To drive this conversation. I just have one thing to say very quickly. I promise not to take long. I really think, I really admire, people like President Suluhu of Tanzania. We had the presidents in Sierra Leone, really admirable. And really, we need more of that. But I also wanted to call upon us ladies to support each other. I think that's very important, because one of the things that people talk a lot about us is that we don't support each other. We will get up to the highest positions, and then that's it. So I think that's one thing that we really need to strengthen ourselves in. Grab the hand of the next woman, bring her up with you as well, and the next, and then we go, because we're all mature. We have our degrees, we have our education, we have our experience, we have children. So we hit the mark, right? We hit the mark. So I think this is just the one thing that I would leave this parting shot, is that, men give us our space and help us to get up there, but women, let's also help each other to the best of our possibility. Thanks.
Thank
Not to put you on the spot, how many of those ladies now you have made friendship? How many? I'm not putting you on the spot, but all of them. Yeah, good. That's news. That's good news. Now you can go to Caribbean. You can go
not Dominican Republic, but
Dominican Republic. You can go to Burundi.
Dominica.
You can now go to Burundi. You can now go to Kenya. You can go now to Kenya. This USA. So everywhere you can visit, you can have friends, and that's great.
Trash that you put on the table.
That's what's gonna come to that.
Okay.
Yeah, please. Before we end and wrap up, he's taking a photo for the panel. And while we are doing like that, make sure before we leave, World Bank is going to be speaking tomorrow because of time, and today, because we were given some restrictions, we need to make sure that we are out of this place by 5. And Mzungu akisema 5 is 5. So it's time to clear up, it's time to mingle, it's time to say hi to each other, it's time to talk to each other and make sure that you know each person. And by having said that,
wait. Okay. Yes. You want to go? Okay. Come on closer. It's okay. Don't bite. Yeah, we do. Sometimes.
Giving this panel a seal of authenticity.
Yes, thank you so
so
much.
I want you to help me. I want you to help me, and I want you to clean up. I'm coming back. I'm just going to talk to somebody, 2, 3, 4 minutes, and then we come back, and then we see where we are.
I know, wasn't it?
What did he say? People are listening? No, he needs to announce the networking. He needs to announce the networking. Okay, for right now. Okay.
Are you releasing the new fair?
I'm also a member of National Action Network.
I gave them a lot.
I wish we can continue this more.
I know. But we're not, right? No, I won't be tomorrow. Yes. I'll give you my number. Oh, I do. What do you want to do? Okay. 917. You want to go to the okay. 841.
I'm trying to figure out if anybody has actually. Older version of
There you go.
Yes, that's good news. Now you can go to